Yo, what's going on guys, Anders here and welcome to my new channel where I'm gonna be doing things all related with digital art. For those who don't know me, I have a channel called FuryPixel where I do gaming and technology videos, and I recently reviewed the TourBox Neo, which is one of my favorite tools for design, and I was thinking that it would be a good video to put this tool on the test with one of my best friends, Valp. Valp is a very recognized digital artist based in Poland, and he specialized on digital painting and photo manipulation. He made many album covers for music bands like Vigilis, Theorem, Socionic, Pendulum, just to mention a few. He's also been featured on books like Design Elements, Crossover Design, and ADOBE Master Class. And all this without mentioning magazines, Photoshop tutors, so yes, you got it, Valp is a big deal. On this project, Valp will create an artwork using for first time the TourBox Neo. And on this video, he will share a little bit about the design process, techniques, experience using the TourBox Neo. The artwork will be for my new single, SS Anubis, from the game Jet for Gemini. Yes, I also have a channel where I produce music, links on the description below. Mr. Valp, the
Mr.
great
Anders.
Valp.
Mr. Anders, good to hear you, man.
How are you, man?
I'm good, thanks. How about you?
Very, very excited and happy, man, because the artwork that you made is a success, dude. Everyone love it.
Okay, happy to hear that, you know.
That's great, that's great. So let's start talking about the story about this artwork, man, because I'm pretty excited to know, like, from your perspective, all the experience that you got by building this and just making it, man, because many people don't know like all the stuff that you need to consider when you create this kind of artwork.
Yes. You know, that's interesting because when you came up with the idea for the artwork, it was you know, the game. Okay, so I never had a Nintendo 64 console. And you know, I love games, that's for sure. So when you came up with the idea for Jet Force Gemini artwork, I was like, okay, what is this game all about? Even if it's an old game, it's kind of a retro vibe. Then I was thinking it's a little bit of challenge, you know, because I don't know nothing about the game at all. I have never played this. I have no memories, you know, from the game. And that was the challenge, you know, and the fun also, because yeah, how to show it, how to show the world of the game, which is kind of a unique, maybe not something, you know, some parts are familiar for people who know the game, and maybe for those who also don't know what it is all about, how we can represent it. So that's why, you know, I said like, okay, let's do this, man. Let's do this. So this is the short story about starting this project.
Actually, this game is something that means a lot to me, man, because it's one of my favorite games that I played in Nintendo 64. And I remember when I was telling you like, oh, let's do this artwork, I was like super excited. You was like, hey, let me at least tell me a little bit about the story so I can understand a little bit more like what kind of scenario you want to show, because actually the name of the artwork is a ship. It's not like a character or like a battle or something like that. And the ship itself is made with the graphics of Nintendo 64, which is like a very old style, like polygons way to do. It was kind of a challenge, I suppose, to you, because we wanted to keep some of the essence of the original game, but making it a little bit more realistic in some way. So, saying that, how long did it take you exactly in terms of time work to do this artwork?
I don't know. It's a tricky question always, because you can probably count you know, hours spent in Photoshop, but since you were introducing me the game before, and I was like thinking about what I wanna do, you know, this is also part of work, right? So like concepting, what to do, what to, how the colors should be. Like I was, for example, watching the gameplay from on a YouTube, like what this game is all about. So actually, I wasn't working like in Photoshop, but I was like watching videos, browsing the artworks from the game, or some screenshots from the game. So that was also part of work. So it's always a tricky part. I can tell you probably by checking the files, the first draft when I started, and when I sent you the very rough draft. It was about, I don't know, maybe hour and a half when I started sketching, but then I had an idea already in my head. So it was kind of a starting point was like 1 hour to get the everything from my imagination on a canvas, let's say.
What's the story behind the composition that you made? Because I remember very clear that I told you, I would like you can incorporate the characters and put them into a story line, but also to be visible the main thing, which is the ship. So it was kind of hard to have characters plus the ship plus a situation. So what's the story that you imagined to create this composition?
So exactly. I have this idea for representing characters, but still it was about more. The artwork is, in fact, as you said, more about the ship and not the character. So it was kind of a tricky, because what I found that about the game. In fact, you sent me the link to the render of this SS Anubis ship, which we finally used in the artwork, and it was like, hey, it looks a little bit, not so interesting. And in fact, in game, I know that I remember that we were talking about that in game. The game takes place inside of a ship, so it was like okay, so if more of the action is taking place inside of the ship, then but the ship is our subject or our topic of the artwork, then how to represent it in an interesting way. So I found like, okay, let's maybe put the ship somewhere in the composition, somewhere in the background. So it's it's more of a spectator of the action that is taking place, so as a viewer you won't be able to probably to see it at the first moment, because at the first moment you will see the Mizar, in fact, or or the landscape and all the action which takes place, but then you will, there's a ship. So that was kind of a idea for the composition to in fact take some landscapes, some landscapes from the game. I remember the part where the dog was like jumping on some rock formations. On
the one that you
land.
Play with the dog, and you need to go from
so I found
platform to platform.
This is interesting. Let's take this this place, because it will build more of a how to say it? It will allow me to build more of a tension or more of epic scene. Like okay, so the characters are really in a bad situation because there is a lava everywhere and there is a wasteland. A lot of volcano area, let's say, and there is a huge boss waiting for them. And so that was kind of a mixing all those elements together. That was kind of interesting, And I found like, okay, let's do this. I like it, and that was the idea for composition.
That's amazing, man. And one of the things that I like a lot is like you make like an army of ants, and the way how you paint Mizar, which is the in this case the boss, the bad boss of the game. You make it a little bit more nasty, more like an actually actually it's not like an ant, it's like a huge spider morph kind of thing. and I saw all the details that you made, the shadows, the way how you paint all the textures inside of Mizar, which is something that I see a lot on your artworks. And one of the things that I like the most when you do your artworks, you always texturize the main element in a way that looks like really good, and then you do like all the lightings and effects that make these kind of compositions pop up more than if you just do the painting and regular shadows. So can you tell me a little bit about the technique that you use when you do this kind of artwork, when you make it more realistic, you put textures, shadows, lighting? What's the first thing that you do, and what kind of techniques that you use the most?
In this situation with Big Boss in our artwork with the Mizar, I must admit, first of all, that it is sort of easy-going process, because I didn't want to spend much time on polishing all the details, and I found like, okay, he will be in a shadow. I want to represent him as a huge boss, a kind of a monster. So all those details, in fact, they have to be somehow hidden. So like you can't see everything. So that was the idea. And so of course some parts of his legs or of this arm and head, it all this needs to be easy to recognize. And in fact the whole silhouette of a Mizar is taken strictly from a screenshot from the game. And so basically this is what I do. I take an object, sometimes I paint it, sometimes it is like a render, it can be render, it can be an image like this one, and then I apply the texture with soft light blending mode, and then use brush painting to bring more of the details that I want to bring, and to hide some that I wanna hide. So for this one, for example, I took a reference from, I guess it was a texture of a turtle, I guess, or some reptile. I don't know. So I put this, just on the layer with Mizar, like positioning the texture and then painting on top of it. So that's like layer by layer. I was revealing some of the details. So basically, this is it.
Now I know that this time also was, and this is probably one of the things that can be messy with the time, because I told you need to do this artwork, but you need to use the TourBox, something that you never use in your life. So first off, I want to know what was your first thoughts when you just unpackaged the TourBox and tried to set up at first. What's your feedback about that? How do you felt about the TourBox?
Well, I have it on my desk, so this is it. And well, first of all, thank you for inviting me into this project, because of the that is the opportunity I had to test the TourBox. So this is, first of all, thank you. And it's very interesting way, because I have no, how to say it, no predictions, no expectations. It was just okay, what we can do with this. And of course I am painting with a tablet, so this is kind of obvious for painting to use a tablet. And in fact I am working in a Photoshop. So okay, so what is the actually what can we improve in my workflow? So that was okay. Let's see how this gear can improve. So I was just curious, no expectations. I was just curious, pure curiosity. So when you're asking me about the box, everything, the box is super clean. I have it. I mean, the very nice design. I have it here. I don't know if you can see this on. I think you made already the unboxing, but so I will just say, like, I was impressed by the quality, because it already looks like I don't know, like some Apple stuff or something. So even I didn't know about the brand before. So when I got the package, when I opened this, and I felt like, okay, so this is equipment for professionals, and yes, I like it, And the setup was very easy because it's just a USB plug-in, and you download the software from their website, and that was also very fast. So no issues from that point of view. So the TourBox itself, that's kind of an interesting thing, because when you look at this, it looks like almost like you are going to operate some some machine or some robot, okay, it's awkward a little bit because you have some buttons, almost like it doesn't look like well, at some point it looks almost like hey, they took DualShock from PlayStation or some other console, and they just and they messed with the buttons, Where are those triggers, And because it already looks like a knobs, the knobs that you are using. Okay, so is it for fun or is it for a professional work? So that was my first impressions. Like, it looks a little bit awkward, and and this button from this wheel, almost from a mouse, Well, it is from a mouse, but I'm working on a Mac, so I'm using like regular Mac mouse, and I just used to the touch.
Yes.
And so this is it. I also have this trackpad from plugged into connected to my iMac, so it's kind of a retro feeling, retro feeling when you got this. I think there were some kind of a mouse trackers, right, with this ball on top, right? So you can use it. So that was first impressions. Like. It looks a little bit awkward,
Okay.
but again, no expectations. It looks but that's one thing. But when I got this in my hands, then I felt like it's good because the TourBox is quite heavy, so it fits on a desk, so it's not like moving around when you are. When you're painting or doing some other work, and you just need to move it, to somewhere to the side, and from that point of view is good. Now all the buttons, because they look as I said, awkward or somehow you even have those how to say it, D-pad is the buttons that you use
like a cross, no?
Yeah, like a cross.
Like a Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. So, but when I started working with this, I felt like, okay, so it's easy to recognize which button is which without looking at the TourBox, and this is really good. And that's why, and that's when you don't bother how it looks, because you feel that it is quite handy. So that was a good impression after let's say 1 hour of working. I feel like it's good, and what's even more interesting, the TourBox is the top of even I think it's the whole gear. It's covered by this soft, how to say it,
like rubber texture thing.
Yes, exactly. So it looks so it feels good. And it has no fingerprints, for example. It's pretty much handy from that point of view. So my first impressions were kind of looks a little bit awkward, looks a little bit funny, and but when I started using it, it was the impression was good. Like, okay, so they were probably thinking how to make it. It's not random, because that is maybe that is the point. When you look at the design of the gear, you may think, like, at least I was thinking, like, okay, isn't it a little bit too random? Like all different buttons, different shapes, bigger, smaller, etc. So, but after 1 hour, I felt like, okay, so they were testing it. At least they were testing it. They knew that you know, the buttons are easy to recognize because they are different. So yes, I like it.
Alright, now I want to know what kind of presets do you create for the Toolbox? I mean, I know that they comes with some default presets, but everyone like to modify those. I mean, if you are really doing your own shortcuts and this kind of stuff, everyone have their own way to work on it. So what kind of things are the ones that you modify, if you modify, and how long take you to actually learn how to do that?
Well, first of all, it's cool to see that they already have the presets pre-made for Toolbox. So when I just downloaded the Toolbox console, and I got like some settings already made, which are pretty much handful, like rotating canvas, for example, zooming in. And so that was super easy to see how this works and to actually start using it. The more challenging, and I guess that is the whole idea about learning how to use it, you know, because well, for me, it's the work that we have done, and like most of my design work is Photoshop. So so I'm pretty much familiar with all the shortcuts, you know, and I have like made some custom shortcuts on Photoshop as well. So using a keyboard is like, you know, almost second nature. So when it comes to the Toolbox, at the first moment I was like, okay, using partially, let's say, working on Toolbox, but then jumping back to the keyboard, for example, like changing some opacity, and so this is it. But when I was, but first of all, I started with presets they have already made, and exactly like the zooming, rotating canvas, it's super handy. And then I found like, okay, I have like Alt, Shift keys. They are already in a Toolbox presets, so I can use it. I don't have to like jump, you know, to the keyboard, even if my hand is like kind of like, you know, naturally, okay, I need option, I need command, you know, I need space to pan, you know, the canvas. So so then I said, okay, so how can I use the buttons which are already on Toolbox? But then I found like I need to change, for example, swapping the colors. Usually it's X. The shortcut button is X. So I just aligned this to the button on the side of the Toolbox. So it's below my small finger, so I can easily, you know, by painting, like for example on a mask, like when I want to erase or basically anything else, I can quickly jump between foreground and background color. So that was like first
thing that you modify.
Yes, I modified. Then I was, like I said to you, I was like missing the other. But maybe we can talk about this in a second. But that was like super first change to start thinking of what are the buttons that I'm using on keyboard and which I can use on a Toolbox. So my hand doesn't have, so I don't have to, you know, jump between, because then it is super powerful when you can use it without the keyboard.
Lastly, and this is like the golden question, because this is the reason why I send you the TourBox Neo. I want to know, comparing with how regularly you work and using the Toolbox, do you think that the Toolbox improved the time consuming? Let's remove the time of the learning curve. Let's say that you already know how to use the Toolbox. Do you think the Toolbox actually will help you to improve in terms of time to do an artwork? Or do you think it's the same but helps you in another way? What's your feedback in that kind of way things? Because you know the time, like you said, you cannot know how long will take you the time, but sometimes when you know that you have some extra tools that will help you to do certain things, probably will be faster to work on that things. In my experience, for example, with the video, for me using the TourBox, it saves me like 30% of the time, you know, the consuming that I'm doing shortcuts with the keyboard. But for you, for digital painting, do you think the TourBox actually help you in terms of accelerate the timing to do artworks, or or do you think it helps you to improve other things?
Well, I use it mostly in Photoshop. So as I said before, probably because I know it, I work in Photoshop for like 15 at least 15 years. So it's hard to say at the moment where I am right now, because I'm still learning. And I found like when you said like when we skip the learning curve, so this is it, because when I will know everything, like super everything about that. Maybe, you know, with the, I guess the improvements about the software, for example, changing the opacity, like we have discussed, it's a matter of time probably. I guess the company can, the developers can make improvements in software, so it will be like faster in, let's say, 1 month or 2. And so I will just skip this part, for example. So learning, so I think if you have this chance to learn how to use it, then it can be a pretty much handful, and it can, I think it can improve, you know, the work, the speed of your work, but it's hard to say if it, you know, how faster it will be compared to the keyboard, for example, you know, and mouse.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tricky, you know. Yes, so I think it's for me it's hard to say. It's hard to say if that's you know, what big, I would say this. It is hard to say how big the improvement will be. I'm pretty much sure when I got familiar, I can only say for myself. So when I was getting more familiar with the TourBox, then I found it is easier and faster to get to the point that I usually do with the keyboard. That was the first level, let's say, of course. But then when you start working on some details, for example, the details that require you, for example, quickly changing the brush size, you know, changing the opacity, or change, or so. For me, at least, this is where I simply just working with the TourBox and, you know, and a tablet, and that was it. So then I found like, okay, this is quick one. I mean, the workflow is fast, but I cannot say like, okay, this is like faster than usual, because I already know it. Maybe if I guess if there's a software that you are probably learning on still, and you can already, you know, use some of shortcuts or some presets or your workflow already used with the TourBox, then it may be pretty much more faster than, you know, than working with the keyboard only. That's what I think. I don't know if that's a good explanation.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I understand. It's like, it's not something that you can actually tell, because some things help you, some things like probably used to using the keyboard, but until like they make it better, we get to the point like you probably even we stop to use the keyboard, for example, and then maybe you can tell like, oh, it's actually making me stop and use the way that you used to do the things.
It's somehow maybe somehow similar to working with the tablet, you know. I mean, learning to work with the tablet. It may sound like, okay, it's funny to, you know, just paint. It sounds more obvious to paint like this way, but I must say that it doesn't mean that I'm not using mouse to paint, of course, because some effects, some effects, let's say, or some techniques are better with mouse, you know, and not pen. So I think it's kind of a similar. You of course don't get rid of a keyboard and just throw it away because you don't need it. Of course, I think that's not the purpose of the Toolbox, right? It's more about not thinking of which button you need to press and just to create, and that's what I believe it's the idea behind such a gear. So when you know what to use it, and maybe that this is it, because the Photoshop itself is like, you know, super complex. You can mask a layer, for example, in several different tools, you know, and because of this complex tool as a Photoshop is, a complex software as it is, in terms of, you know, ways you can control it, then it makes it kind of a tricky to use equipment, probably like this one. I guess that you know, maybe you can say that in working in a video editing, you know, but where you can see actual improvement of, you know, working with a timeline and so on. But for me, it's not easy to say, okay, I can see like 10, even 10. How can I measure it? You know, like 10%.
Yeah.
Maybe some other tasks, maybe less. It's tricky because the creativity itself is kind of how to measure, you know, the creativity. Now we can probably have like another, you know, let's say episode about thinking about the creativity and how long time it will take you to do this. But what I'm trying to say is like, when you get familiar with this one, it will the workflow will be good, and it's at least worth of trying in, you know. If I can, of course, it's easy to say, but harder to test it. For example, I'm living in Poland, so I cannot go to the local store and test it, you know. I need that is a huge opportunity to see how it works actually, you know. And now I know that it's cool, and it's a good addition. I would say it's a good addition in my studio.
Then so that's all for the questions. I'm pretty happy to hear how is your experience with the Toolbox and the things that you learn with it. It's really cool the things that you give with the feedback with the opacity and these kind of things, because it's something that hopefully and definitely Toolbox should take into consideration. And the process of the artwork, which is one of the things that I was more interested to know, like how you work on these kind of things. I'm very happy to learn from it. So before we go, do you want to tell to all the viewers where they can find you, or where they can see some of your artwork?
Yes, that will be very nice. So first of all, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you find interesting the artwork itself and the music that Anders have created. It was I think that is something that we are missing here, right? That your music was very inspiring for creating this piece. I think we should probably mention this at the beginning, but then it will sound like a self promo, right? But no, but the music the artwork was also the intention of the artwork was also to represent the music itself. That is kind of interesting, because and I will get to the point, you know, because the music and art for me is a kind. Well, I work for music industry as well. I create album covers. I'm working for music festivals, for example, and other brands which are not connected to the music, but the music as an industry and music as a source of inspiration and motivation to making a digital art takes a big role of my artistic life, let's say. So this is it. So I basically love it. You know, from the very beginning, my first commissions were like small album covers for album covers for small bands, let's say, and local music clubs, etc. So this is it, and so basically I will be super happy if you can leave a comment about the artwork, if you like it or not. I'm pretty much curious what people who were playing the game will say about this, because that is interesting. And about myself, I will just I will be happy if you drop me a line. If you can send me a message, you can find me on my website, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You will find the links in the description to the video. So yeah, this is it. You know, I'm pretty much happy about everything that is related to art. So if we can have a conversation, then why not?
Thank you very much, Valp, for the artwork and for this interview. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see more about you and your social media. And that's all for today's video, my friends. I hope you like it. If you want to watch my video review of the TourBox Neo or just listen to the SS Anubis theme, I will leave you links on the description below. This is Anders. See you next time.